I didn't realize for about 6 months that I was healed from my eating disorders. It took me about, like, I knew that I felt good, but it took me about 6 months to realize I wasn't having the unhealthy thoughts anymore. And that was really amazing. I can't believe it took me that long to realize it, but I guess I was just learning and eating and nourishing my body. And then something clicked in my brain and I was like, I'm better.
G'day, Serena. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. I'm so excited to chat. You have been one of the first people that I think you're the first person that reached out and connected with me once I got into this carnivore journey. And you were just so open-hearted and lovely. And I'm like, this is a cool place to be. And, we've created a connection and a friendship, through eating this way that's changed our lives, right? And yeah, we've had lots of chats and stuff like that. You've interviewed me, and now I'm excited to interview you. So for those of the people that don't know you yet, who are you and what do you do?
So my name is Serena Musick and I'm a carnivore. I became a carnivore. It's actually almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in May. And it really has, like you said, completely changed my life. I had eating disorders for years, actually about 37 years. I bought my first diet pills when I was 12, and I've pretty much been on a diet ever since. I will actually be 50 in May, and never had a day where I wasn't consumed by food, what the food was going to do to me, how much weight I was going to gain from the food, whether or not I could lose weight. It was always, always on some sort of a diet. I've tried every diet out there over the years, and those were, I mean, I wanted to be healthy, but I had a different idea of health then than what I have now. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be thinner. I always wanted to lose weight. I just did not have a healthy outlook on food and how you were to be healthy. And so for years and years, my thoughts were consumed by food to the point where I missed out on things. I missed out on some of my life with my 4 kids and my husband because I was just so preoccupied with food all the time. And I started carnivore because I have this weird post-COVID issue where things taste and smell rotten. So the best way that I could describe it when it first started was like a rotten skunk carcass somebody had lit on fire is how coffee smells. Coffee still smells that way. Peanut butter smells like that. Most vegetables and fruits smell that way still. And it's been since December of 2020. It was when I had COVID the first time. And this issue started in March of 2021. So it's been more than 2 years that I've had this. And so when I started carnivore, I was desperate. It had been 2 months of eating basically only sugar because it was the only thing that tasted and smelled normal to me. So I was eating lots of cupcakes, lots of cake, lots of cookies, because again, it was the only thing and I had to sustain myself somehow. Most meats smelled that way at the time. I couldn't even be in the same room as chicken. When it was cooking, there were lots of things. I had to quit cooking for my family. It was a very, very difficult time. I was taking all kinds of supplements. I would see all these things online. People would say, oh, you should try this. Oh, you should try this. This fixed it for me. I even bought red light therapy that you stick up your nose, that was supposed to help heal the cells and bring the wires back together so that your smell and taste are corrected. But I was basically eating only sugar. And on my birthday in 2021, so it had been 3 months, I had had the distorted taste and smell. Over the weekend, my girls made me cupcakes for my birthday, gluten-free cupcakes. I've been gluten-free for years. And I love their cupcakes so much. And I proceeded to eat 20 of them in 36 hours over the weekend. And I woke up on Monday morning and I was like, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. So if I can't eat fruits and vegetables because they taste and smell rotten, and I can only eat a couple of meats, and I'm going to give up sugar and carbs, what does that leave me? And I knew I could eat like a ribeye and a New York strip right off the grill, but I couldn't like put them in the fridge and then reheat them. And I knew that I could eat a hamburger fresh off the grill, but again, I couldn't put it in the fridge and then reheat it like the next day. It's very, very specific, the way things taste and smell. And so I was able to eat those things. And I was like, okay, so if I'm just going to eat like ribeye and hamburgers, what does this mean? And I started doing research that very day. It was a Monday morning, May 24th, and I will never forget it because that was when I found the Joe Rogan podcast with Sean Baker, who everybody knows about. And I found Kelly Hogan and Michaela Peterson. And I found all these people that very day and consumed myself for 2 weeks while I started and just listened to podcasts and videos and read books and just like dove into it head first while I was doing it. And I didn't realize for about 6 months that I was healed from my eating disorders. It took me about, like, I knew that I felt good, but it took me about 6 months to realize I wasn't having the unhealthy thoughts anymore. And that was really amazing. I can't believe it took me that long to realize it, but I guess I was just learning and eating and nourishing my body. And then something clicked in my brain and I was like, I'm better. I mean, and it still brings tears to my eyes about once a day when I sit down for some delicious meaty meal that I wouldn't have eaten if I was on some sort of diet. And like things are clear to me now. It really is amazing what the meat, the beef specifically, though, I believe, it's amazing what it can do for your body and your mind if you let it work and you get rid of all of the preconceived notions that we have about food and nutrition. You can really learn a lot and you can really heal a lot of things. It's been really amazing for me, life changing, actually. I mean, completely life changing for me.
Holy moly! I
Yeah,
started welling up just hearing your story because I didn't know that. I know other parts
yeah,
of your journey, but that's really powerful. I resonate so much with so much of that. Like my journey's not been around weight loss, but
right.
it's been around worrying about what I'm eating, right? Because of how
Mhm.
it's going to affect me. So I get that
Yeah,
so much. And then you're like, holy moly, 6 months in, I like you no longer have to worry, you feel
hmm,
better, like and that's on top of the benefits of carnivore,
yes,
right? Like that's
yeah,
that's like a bonus. I think a lot of people go into eating this way and they don't necessarily think they'll get X outcome. They go in for
hmm,
ABC outcome, and then they get XYZ, which is powerful.
yes,
And just like hearing your journey of just since 12 being on diet pills, I'm sure that there are so many people that are out there that are in that same situation, and we just don't
yeah,
get taught how to eat properly, right? And then
yeah,
yeah, mm,
yeah. And even once, even so, I was bulimic for about 20 years, and even once that stopped, I still had very distorted eating habits. Like I would eat several cupcakes or something, and then I would go weeks where I would just eat salad, or I would be a raw vegan for weeks because I was trying to reverse, the cupcakes that I eat. It was always about that for me. It was always about um, gratifying myself, giving myself what I wanted in the moment, and then punishing myself afterwards. And part of what made me realize I was better was I learned the difference between an abstainer and a moderator, and that an abstainer has to abstain from everything or from those things, or they just, go berserk with them. Whereas a moderator can have one Oreo. I've never had one Oreo in my whole life. I mean, I can honestly say there has never been a time since I was a child, at least, that I could eat just one of something like that. I mean, there were times where I was on Weight Watchers or a plan like that where I would portion it out and just eat a couple, but it was never satisfying to me. It was never what I wanted. I wanted the entire package of Oreos. And I've done that. I have eaten an entire package of gluten-free Oreos. I've eaten an entire package of chocolate covered, drizzle popcorn from Sam's, like the giant bags, of popcorn, and then hid it in the trash when I got home because I didn't want people to know. I lived like that for like 30 years where I didn't want people to know what I was doing. I would hide in the kitchen. The day I ate, the day and a half I ate 20 cupcakes, nobody knew I was doing that. They were just disappearing and everybody thought everybody was eating them, but it was me. And I know, like you said, a lot of people can relate to that. And so I try to tell that story because so many people don't think that they're binge eaters, but they are. And if you sit down and eat an entire bag of Doritos, you're a binge eater. I mean, that's just a fact. And people don't think of it like that. They think, oh, look at that, I polished off a bag of Doritos. And so it's really easy to get caught up in, well, I don't have the problem you have. I just ate a bag of Doritos, but that's fine. I could stop. I don't have to go find something else. And that's how it was for me too. I would eat the entire bag of chocolate popcorn and then I was done for a while. But I think people just don't realize that we do have an unhealthy pattern of eating, and we have to correct that first before we can get well mentally and physically.
so true. Far out, it's so true. I can relate to the eating bags of chips, like before it, and I would eat stuff that would be like sunflower oil because I thought that was the healthier version, but I think because of the way I felt about firstly myself, feeling like a failure for not being able to heal my body, that was like always my thing, and then also on top of that being really hungry because when you're reacting to foods like as much as I have over the years, you don't know what to eat. So therefore, sometimes you just don't feel like eating anything. And then you eat something crap, and then that makes you feel crap, and then you don't feel like eating, but then you're starving, so you eat the whole bag. Because, like, who can stop at like half a bag of chips, really? Like,
Well, and the
realistically.
people at Lay's know that. That's why their slogan is you can't have just one. And that's true. And it's because of the bliss point. It's the people should feel cheated and lied to and taken advantage of. They know what the bliss point is. They know the
Mm.
right ratio of sugar or carbs added with salt and fat to make you come back for more. They know what that is. And that's
Mm.
why you can't just eat a couple. I could never eat a handful of chips. It was always a whole bag, especially like if it had like a really strong flavor, like, like salt and vinegar or something. Like I would just
Mm.
eat the entire thing. Like I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop.
Mm. It's yeah, I'm with you there. And I just saw. I'm not sure if you saw the same thing. I'm sure we watched a lot of the same things on Instagram and the same people. But I saw this article of. Oh, it wasn't an article. It was a post about impossible foods and how they're hiring like a food scientist, like a flavor chemist,
Yeah.
to
Mm-hmm.
basically help them with flavors on the food. It's like, well, if that's not indicating something to you, then what is, to
Right.
have to basically hire someone to make your food
Yeah.
chemically good. I'm sure that doesn't happen with real food companies. I mean, I'm not sure
Yeah.
it could with, like, Nature Valley snack. Well, they're not even health food, but,
No,
consider
it's
that,
not.
right? But
Yeah. They
like,
have a bliss point too,
yeah.
I'm sure of it, but
Oh,
that's not happening with steak. The farmers aren't doing that with their beef.
no,
They're not
no.
hiring somebody to come in and help them, manufacture this, special kind of flavor for their beef. Beef is beef, and we should take advantage of that. We should take advantage of the healing power of it. I get messages every day, I'm sure you do too, about why don't you just go eat some kale? It's much healthier for you. I'm worried about your nutrition levels. Listen, I just went to the doctor 2 weeks ago, had all of my blood work done, and it was perfect, except for my zinc was a little low. And I said, I'll make sure I eat more liver and vitamin D. I'm always low in vitamin D unless I'm supplementing. He said, that's a for the rest of your life thing. I mean, I can be out in the sun every day in the summertime and have my vitamin D still not be optimal. I mean, he knows I want everything to be optimal. And this was the first time I had a conversation with him about being a carnivore because last year I just wasn't strong enough to tell him. And I told him I don't eat any fruits and vegetables. I eat, mostly just meat and eggs and cheese. And he said, "Oh, so you're a carnivore?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Good for you." And I was like, "Yes." And then all my blood work was good. So that made me really happy.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
so cool. And how old are you, Serena?
I will be 50 in May.
Jeez, doing all right. Doing all right.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people think that once you hit a certain age, your health just goes down. But I know that yours is for the first time, right? It's really
Mm-hmm.
going up and up, hey?
Yeah, I mean, in the past, when I would go to this doctor, I think I've been going to him for about 7 years for like just a yearly checkup for blood work and stuff like that. And I have always had multiple things, multiple supplements or vitamins that he had to put me on, always. But not last year and not this year. And there is a definite connection there. Last year when I went, I had been carnivore for about 9 months when I went. And this year it was like 21 months when I went in. And so there's a definite connection there between, and before, I mean, let's be clear, before I was eating healthy. I was not on your standard American diet by any means at all. Now, I did have times of binging with a big bag of popcorn and stuff like that. I did have times like that, all the cupcakes, for instance. But for the most part, about 75% of my plate was vegetables. I didn't eat a lot of fruit because of the sugar. I didn't eat regular candy very often. I mean, I would say once or twice a month I had a treat. Now, of course, for the last couple of months before I started carnivore, I wasn't eating healthy like that because of this taste and smell thing. But this taste and smell thing had not happened yet when I went to the doctor 2 years ago for my checkup. I was still eating a very healthy diet at that point. And so I was what most people would consider healthy. I hadn't had red meat in probably a couple of years. I was eating chicken, I was eating low fat fish, some higher fat fish here and there, but I was very careful. I didn't slather my meats in butter or olive oil. I mean, I was like all of my friends thought I was the healthy one, really. I mean, I was considered the healthy one. I didn't eat bags of chips very often. I didn't eat those kinds of things very often. I was always counting what I ate, either calories or macros or points for Weight Watchers or something like that. I didn't eat a lot of artificial ingredients. I mean, I was the healthy one in almost any group you put together because of the way I ate. But yet my blood work year after year showed deficiencies in 4 or 5 different areas. And then 9 months after starting carnivore, coming from a pretty healthy diet, 9 months after starting carnivore, suddenly I don't need any supplements anymore at almost 50. And now I will be 50 in May, and I'm not taking any medications. I have zero aches and pains. I don't have any arthritis. I can open the jars out of the refrigerator. I can walk. I can run. I can, without being stiff, I can lift weights. And honestly, most people my age do not feel like that. I mean, and I don't feel like 50 is old at all. I'm shooting for 100 or more. And I want to feel really good right now. And I do. Like I told my doctor, I want everything to be optimal. Whatever it is I need to do, I'll fix it with food. You know, I'll fix it with more meat, or I'll eat liver, I'll eat organs if I have to. I want everything to be right. And I think that's how we should be. We should be looking at our blood work and saying, what do I need to fix? What do I need to eat to fix this? And we shouldn't be eating any of the processed foods from the grocery store. None of them, not even the vegan ones, because those are garbage too.
Mm, goodness.
Oreos are vegan, so
Yeah.
somebody who's vegan is not necessarily Whole Foods plant-based. They are just vegan and probably eating lots of garbage. And even something like Whole Foods plant-based, which most people think is the perfect diet. I mean, like if you asked people, what do you think is the health of all the diets you know of, what's the healthiest one? Most people would choose Whole Foods plant-based or say vegan out of lack of knowledge that even Oreos are vegan. So I think most people would choose vegetables, which is just our preconceived notions from what we've been told over the years. But honestly, if they went vegan, they would not feel so great. Like you have to do lots of supplementation. It's not easy to be vegan and be healthy. There are lots of supplements you have to take, lots of combinations of foods that you have to do. But you put somebody on a carnivore diet for an extended period of time and they need nothing. They need no supplements. They need no extra vitamins or minerals. With the exception of vitamin D, which we don't get very much from food. That's something that has to come most of the time from the sun or from a bottle, unfortunately. But most people do not need anything except the food that comes with being a carnivore.
That's amazing, by the way, with the blood work. Like, and it's so funny because in the comments of my videos, people are like, just eat some vegetables. What about all the vitamins and what about the minerals you're lacking and this sort of stuff like that? Whereas, like, your experience, you were eating what people would call the ideal healthy diet. Balance, mostly plants, and no red meat because that causes cancer and heart disease,
Yep.
apparently.
And
And
fat, and it makes you fat
and
and gives you
fat.
high cholesterol. Even my
Yep.
cholesterol was good. So that's, sorry to interrupt you, but I meant to say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
before. Even my cholesterol, which is the thing people comment on most, you know that. So
Mm.
I went from December eating a stick of butter a day on top of my normal diet to doing the lion diet in January, lots and lots of red meat and lots of extra tallow in with that. All I ate was red meat. I ate just beef because I don't like lamb, but I did just red meat the entire month of January. Had my blood work done mid-February. So I went from a stick of butter a day and then just red meat for a month to having my blood work done, and everything was great and my cholesterol wasn't even high. So I don't want to talk about vitamins and nutrients coming from fruits and vegetables and about having high cholesterol from eating meat and butter, because that's not the case. Your cholesterol goes high when you eat the processed carbohydrates. Now, if somebody wants to eat a high meat diet, like a meat-based diet, to make sure you have enough protein and eat lots and lots of fruits and vegetables and they don't upset your stomach or cause problems that you can see or feel, then go for it, because you're certainly going to be better off than the processed foods. But I think most people should be on some sort of a low carb, higher fat, higher protein diet for optimal health. And not everybody has to be a carnivore. Not everybody has to do what I'm doing, but everybody should give up the processed garbage from the grocery store, because that's what's making us sick. Without a doubt, that's what's making us sick.
Fully. It's not the beef, it's not the animal fats, it's not the butter, all these things that we've been eating for a very long time and didn't have the modern diseases.
Right.
Maybe I'm just putting it out there, think for yourself, but maybe it's all the processed foods, seed oils, sugar, all this sort of stuff that's been manufactured and has been put on the shelves and has been mass distributed and marketed
Mm-hmm.
over the past however many decades,
Yeah.
and the rise of obesity and health issues. I don't know. Probably no connection at all. Probably no
Yeah,
connection.
I would challenge anybody who's watching this to give up the processed foods, the seed oils, and sugar for 30 days and see how you feel. See how many medications you're off of. See how much fewer joints hurt, how much less pain you're in. If you have joint pain, that will most likely go away. I've seen people get off medications in a few days, a couple of weeks. I've seen people get off many, many of their medications. I would challenge anybody who's watching this to go on a meat-based diet and give up all those processed things for 30 days and see what happens. You started with 30 days.
Yeah, well, I think 30 days is manageable for people, right?
Yeah.
Like, because to, like, you look at where you are and where you want to be. Like, if where you are is not ideal and where you want to be is ideal, there are so many steps to take to get there. And even 4 months into this journey, I'm not in an optimal place, right? Like, I feel like that's a couple years away because there are all these little things I'm learning
You're,
about and tweaking.
you're
What's
going to
that?
edit this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You said 104 months in. So start over. It's 104 days,
Oh,
right?
oh no, I won't edit that. That's funny. No,
Yeah.
I might.
No.
104. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Numbers are not my thing. Doing the 30 days of carnivore, which was just the starting point, I'm like, okay, I can challenge myself. I can do anything for 30 days. Let's see how we go. And I think that anyone can do anything for 30 days,
Right.
really. And if you give yourself a time frame to just go for it and then see how you go, then at least you're getting that momentum forward. It's better than being like, oh, like, let's say you're extremely overweight and you know that it's going to take you several months, perhaps even a year or two to really get to your goal. You're not really going to get to your goal if you're just sitting there and thinking that's going to take that long. But you're like, you know what? If I do 30 days, then that's going to do something. And then once you're
Yes.
in that, right? Like, because yeah, I'm 120 days, 4 months in, and I'm feeling incredible, right? And I think it was the first week into carnivore, I'm like, what on earth am I doing? What is going on here? And it was hard to adjust and it was tricky and it was weird, but I gave myself that challenge, right? So yeah, basically having a set amount of days, I think initially to start carnivore, I would even recommend, like from my experience, 6 weeks, because 6 weeks, that's when I started to feel good. Some people
Yes.
feel good literally within the next week, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that having that time period, it's just a game changer. And yeah,
Yeah.
for anyone that's listening and wanting to give it a crack, like just dive in and just, I would set up accountability around your life to do it,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Community is huge. Getting involved with the carnivore community, messaging people like myself and Rory, that can really help. So when you have questions, it's a really great idea to start messaging people that you follow on Instagram. Those people are very responsive and will absolutely help if you need help.
Totally. I was plant based for about 4 years altogether, vegan for about two or more of those, vegetarian for the other bits. The community is more open minded and supportive in carnivore, whether you continue to stay carnivore or not. They will be there and support, even if you're not fully carnivore.
Yeah.
They're open, as opposed to when you move into the cult of veganism. No offense to
Yes.
anyone that is plant
No.
based. It's just it's a very dogmatic thing, and I understand and recognize that being within it. But it's like, it's so open minded, open hearted. Everyone that I've spoken to is so welcoming.
Yeah.
No matter what the follower counts or all these
Right.
things, you just
Yeah.
think, oh, once they get here, you're like, everyone is just so cool. So
Yeah.
come on over, come connect and see what everyone's doing, I
Yeah.
reckon.
I agree. Yeah. It's a great community.
Yeah, and you run a community meetups, and you've
Yeah.
got an online portal and everything. Can you tell us about that? I did the worst job explaining it,
No,
but
it's
I've
okay.
I've come in there and I've spoken. But tell us all about it.
So I have a YouTube channel with my friend Jesselyn called the Carnivore Revolution. That's how we got together. We met on Instagram actually and started this YouTube channel together. And we do interviews and we make recipes and stuff like that. And then we decided that we wanted to also create a community within the network, we wanted to create a network within the community of carnivore. So we created a Mighty Network. It's an app that you get. You can go to it on your phone or your computer. And it works a lot like Facebook does. People will post things and there will be like a home feed where you can see people's food. And if somebody's struggling, they can ask for help. And we have several different sections within our Mighty Network. We have a she shed where women can just go talk about women's stuff. We have a man cave where the men can go talk about men's stuff with other men. And then we also have a recipe section and a testimonials section. And a success story section. Then there's also that we do a little book club in there where we read books and talk about it together. And then we do some Zoom calls every week where we can all sit down together and we can help answer questions. We have 6 different coaches from all different backgrounds and from many places around the world. So like almost anytime you have a problem, if you post in there, somebody's going to answer. And there are several of us in the United States, and then Jess is in Japan, and then one of the coaches is in Sweden. So we have people from all over the world that can help you, people from different backgrounds. Everybody is not carnivore. There are lots of low carb people. 2 of the coaches are more of like an ancestral approach with more like holistic things like how do you replace some of the cleaners in your house to get rid of those toxins and things like that. So we have lots of stuff going on all the time. It's been a really great community. We're actually finishing up a 6-week free trial that we did. We wanted to bring as many people in as we could, and we offered 50 slots, so people had to fill out applications for it. And we wanted to give those people like, so what happens if for 6 weeks you have coaches you can talk to, you have a community, and it's free? Can you lose weight? Can you feel better? Can you stick with, with the diet? We came up with the idea right after Fatima Stanford, who is somebody who was recently in the US appointed to the Dietary Guidelines Committee. She's an obesity specialist doctor who said, this, who said that obesity is genetic.
Yeah.
And so we decided not long after that, because that's such a ridiculous statement. It's a learned behavior. It's you learn to eat those foods. It is not a means that you're going to be obese. Just because your parents are obese and then you're obese or overweight doesn't make it genetic. It's a learned behavior because you're eating all of the same foods. You learn those things from your family. And I'm learning this now with my kids, who are two of them are adults. One of them is getting ready to get married. And I am seeing little things that she's doing with this new life that she's creating with her fiance and this house that we're, helping them fix up. I'm seeing little things that she learned from us. And that doesn't make those things genetic. The fact that she wants, certain things set up, kind of similar to the way we do things in our house and stuff like that, that doesn't make those things genetic. She learned those things from us. So how stupid would it be for me to say, oh, well, it's genetic that she wants to put her KitchenAid mixer in the corner, because we have our KitchenAid mixer in the kitchen in the corner. So it must be genetic. It's not genetic. That's how stupid that is to me to say that. And I just, so anyway, so we decided to do this Mighty Network free challenge thing right after that, because we wanted to see, so if somebody gives you the support that you need, can you do it? And so far we have had lots of good feedback. These people are coming to almost all of the Zoom meetings and really, getting the hang of this. We're on week 5 now. And many of the people have stuck around and are sticking with the plan and coming to the Zoom meetings and enjoying the community support. It's been really, really good. So, so the Mighty Network is also Carnivore Revolution. You can get the app and you can search for it there, or find the link in my bio on Instagram. But it's been really good, and we're really enjoying doing the coaching thing and helping other people learn, how to do this.
That's incredible. And for anyone that wants to go check it out as well, like everything, all of the links that are mentioned are always in the link in my description on YouTube, or if you're on Spotify or wherever, the show notes as well. So you can check all that out as well. And obviously, Serena on Instagram. What's your Instagram again?
Serena.carnivore.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. One thing I wanted to add in there, it's like people think that obesity runs in the family, but the problem is that nobody runs in the family, right? You know that quote? And it's true. It's like learned behavior. I see that with my son, right, who's 4, and where over the years I've had difficulty expressing and like my anger and my mood and all those sorts of things, and eating this way has definitely helped with that nervous system regulation. But I noticed that he would have outbursts in a certain way that would be very similar to mine, and it's like, you could think, he's an angry, it's like, well, no, it's literally like he learned that from watching me. So it's like, I'm the doofus here.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly right. And gosh, that was the most ridiculous thing ever, seeing that thing go around, obesity expert, top of the line, and she's like, it's not your fault. You take a pill.
Yeah, and no matter what you do, she said, regardless of diet, exercise, stress, and sleep, you have like a 50 to 80% chance of being obese. That's absurd. So how many people out there are now thinking, well, it doesn't matter. There's nothing I can do. I either need a drug or I'm going to stay obese. And she is advocating for like surgery for kids, like the bariatric surgery for kids who are obese to help them lose weight. And she wants to put them on medications too. And I just think that is so dumb. That just doesn't make any sense at all. So now we set people up coming from being children. We set them up for not being able to manage their stress levels and their food and their weight for their entire lives. Instead of teaching them, we're just going to put them on drugs. So I wonder which drug company she's being backed by. I wonder which drug company has done the most for her, that she's willing to do that to our society. And Americans deserve more than that. We deserve more than that. People deserve more than that. We deserve the chance. We deserve the information, to help keep that from happening.
And they call people like us extreme.
That's right.
I just, and we're the extremists.
We
right?
are, because
like choosing to eat whole foods.
Yes, whole foods, eggs, bacon, a ribeye. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that,
Yeah. Wow. What's like what's like a typical day in the life of Serena look like? Like, what do you eat throughout the day? What's it kind of looking like these days?
I'm a little bit obsessed with dehydrated, very thin sliced ribeye right now. So we bought a dehydrator in February and for Valentine's Day. So romantic, right? And we bought a dehydrator, and one of my absolute favorite things is shaved ribeye. So I love the dehydrated, thinly sliced ribeye. I make that, and it doesn't take as long as beef jerky. We don't let it get that hard. We do it for like maybe 2.5 hours, and it makes it just like it's still juicy almost. It is unbelievable. So I eat that almost every day. That is my new absolute favorite thing. So I eat that. A lot of times I'll have
Oh,
eggs for.
before you go on, recipe, where do I find that?
Oh,
That sounds delicious.
I do have some reels about it, and I think they're on YouTube as shorts also. Very, very good. It's super easy to do. I do my dehydrator on 160 for about 2.5 hours is how I do mine. And it's really good. Like the fat is still dripping a little bit when you pull it out. So
Oh.
sometimes I'll do it. This is like very detailed, but sometimes I'll do it for 2 hours and 15 minutes and then put it in the fridge. And then when I want them, I'll take them out of the fridge and put them back in the dehydrator for 10 minutes so that they're still, it's almost like when they're fresh because they're the best when they're fresh. So sometimes I'll put them in the microwave to warm them, but that cooks them and kind of messes with the texture of it a little bit. So I don't really like to do that. So if you have the time, you make them first, don't cook them for as long, and then put them back in the dehydrator for 10 minutes before you're ready to eat. But I'll eat a whole meal. I'll eat a whole pound of dehydrated ribeye for my meal. I mean, it's one of the best things I've ever had. It is so good. The fat kind of gets caramelized in the middle of the ribeye there. It's
Oh,
fabulous.
stop it.
Lots of salt. So good.
Yeah.
So I eat that a
Oh,
lot,
okay.
honestly.
Yeah.
And then I eat lots of regular ribeyes on the grill, lots of hamburgers on the grill. And then also meat bars is a huge staple for me. So that's where you buy like the loosely packed ground beef. I've been getting mine at Aldi. I don't believe everything has to be grass fed. I think as long as you're doing your best, and not everybody likes the way grass fed tastes. So right now I buy lots of conventional meat. We probably are going to buy half a cow coming up in a couple of months, which we've done before, but we're probably going to do that. But so it's a loosely packed ground beef from the grocery store, and you break it into chunks that are maybe 2 by 1, and put those in your air fryer and let them go on 370 for about 12 minutes. So they're still really juicy. The outside sometimes gets just a little bit crispy, but that's super easy. You know, air fryers are easy to clean. So you plop those in there. Sometimes I get out of the shower, run downstairs, break off some meat bars, throw them in the air fryer, come back up, do my hair and makeup, and go down, and lunch is ready. I mean, so it's like super easy to do that. So that is a huge staple for me with salt and butter. And then, like I said, the ribeyes. I mean, my diet it's varied. I mean, I do eat lots of other things. I'll do shrimp on occasion. I do chicken wings a few times a week. Pretty often, chicken wings are one of my favorite things, and also eggs and bacon and sausage. Today, I made dehydrated breakfast sausage from. I saw that on Instagram. If you don't know Jackie Jam, she's awesome, but she made it really thin and dehydrated. It's like a sausage chip. It is fabulous. So good. Now, not everybody can do the spices, but the spices don't seem to bother me, the spices in the sausage, but it is fabulous. So a normal day for me would be a breakfast of probably like eggs and sausage, and then maybe either some chicken wings or some meat bars for lunch, and then some ribeye with butter for dinner, probably. And people say that there's not enough variety in carnivore and that you'll get bored. I have not been bored one day in almost 2 years. I mean, seriously, that's a ridiculous statement that you'll get bored. Sometimes I feel like there are almost too many options, and some days I decide just to do like Lion diet for a couple of days because I feel like I get a little bit overwhelmed with the options, honestly, which I know just sounds so ridiculous to people who are not carnivores. But sometimes I'm a little bit overwhelmed with the options, and just stick with beef for a couple of days. That's when I feel my best anyway. But I eat a lot of beef, and chicken wings probably just a couple times a week, 2 or 3 times a week.
It's so interesting. I feel very much the same way. Like, as you talking about that, like I had a big bowl of beef mince cooked on like duck fat, a bit of ghee. I can eat ghee now, and then some meat stock, some broth. Had that just before. And as you're talking about this, I'm like, oh man, I cannot wait to literally just have exactly what I had for
Right.
breakfast again. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
I think it changes the way you view and look at food and your relationship to it. And I've been introducing, because I'm on the GAPS like version of carnivore. My goal is to move towards fully GAPS, but I've tried things like pumpkin recently, didn't work. Zucchini didn't work. Just cleared me right out. And only with a little bit as well, not much. Honey, absolutely delicious. Felt a big smile across my face, but I'm like, I don't know. It's like once you once you remove everything else and you're predominantly on meat, you're kind of like, well, I'm finding for myself anyway, you find this groove and you're like, I like
Yeah.
this. I really like this. The simplicity of it,
Yes.
I tell you, like it would be so much like the amount of times that I would think about, okay, I had this last night, so I can't have that last night for dinner, so I've got to have something different tonight. Like if last night was pasta, tomorrow night's going to be nachos, and then I've got to do rice or whatever. But now it's just like, what's for dinner? Meat,
Oh, I know.
meat, salt, water,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
takes all of the
yeah,
guesswork out of it, and the cool thing is
yeah.
that if you eliminate all of those other things, then you can find out what's bothering you, what's making your knees hurt, what's making the arthritis in your hands bad. I mean, that's the coolest thing about doing carnivore as an elimination diet is you're not suffering. Because I did the other elimination diet at one point. Oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called. When my third child was born, we thought she was allergic to wheat. So I went off wheat and I had to do like just chicken legs, and then I could have pears. And I can't remember what the diet is called, but it's like this very strict elimination diet. But it turns out like I felt very, very hungry on that. I felt very deprived on that. I did it for like 2 weeks so I could add things back in and figure out what was bothering her. Turns out it was wheat, but I did that for 2 weeks and I felt very yucky when I was doing that. And as with carnivore as an elimination diet, you don't feel like that at all. You're full, you're nourished. Food becomes about nourishing your body, and you do look forward to the meals, but not in the same way you used to look forward to the meals that you were addicted to. You look forward to the meals because you know how good they're going to make you feel, and there's a big difference there in how you look forward to the food when it's nourishing your body versus when it's providing entertainment.
100%. Yeah, I've noticed that too. Well, yeah, food, I mean, especially being a foodie, right? And that was my job for a bit is like I've worked in cafes, I've done marketing for food businesses, I've worked in food companies, I've worked in kitchens, I've done all sorts of things around food. I even used to teach whole food, smoothie, plant-based workshops. Like food has always been a thing for me for the past decade, right? Like I know the same for you and probably a lot of people listening, but once you start eating this way, it's like it shifts from entertainment being the focus, those few seconds of flavor, right? And then the downflow effect of how you feel if it's something you know you're not supposed to be eating or doesn't really work for your body. The downflow effect of that is not worth those 5 seconds. Whereas with this, if you look at food from the other way, and I know it's like it's not easy for everyone to look at this because we are so like addicted and brought up in a certain way around food. But once you shift from, okay, health first and then taste after, then you crave the taste of the things that are making you healthy. So I crave, like we've spoken about this, but I crave, you know, a good old mug of meat stock. It's like what I crave most. It is the thing that I love most. And right now I'm loving lamb, partially because I feel completely fine when I eat it. I can eat easily, a whole pound, what was lunch yesterday? 1.27, 1.3 pounds of meat, which you would normally think, oh, that's a lot, that's too much to have in a sitting. And I feel fine
Yeah.
and I'm not hungry afterwards. Whereas before, maybe I would eat like a kilo, maybe 2 kilos, which is like 2 to 4 pounds of potatoes, right? Because high carb and no worries. But like I would still feel hungry after, even though I've eaten large quantities of food. But because your body is getting nutrient dense stuff, it's getting what it needs, it changes the way and how much you eat too. Like I know that you spoke about calories, right? Like, 'cause you've done a lot of weight watching type stuff over the years, and we're taught to restrict the amount of calories and food we eat. Can you talk about, like, do you restrict your calories on carnivore, or do you just eat whatever you want, whenever you want, and however much you want? What does it look like?
Well, when I first started, my problem was under eating, not overeating, because I came from years of dieting and not really know what being hungry and being full felt like. So when I came in, I actually gained 18 pounds in the first 8 months by not eating enough and fasting too much, which I know there will be people watching this saying that's wrong, that's ridiculous, that's impossible. It is not. I've spoken to many doctors about it. And your body does go into, maybe you don't want to call it starvation mode because, people out in the desert, they lose weight, blah, blah, blah. But your body can go into this, like my cortisol was high. My body went into this mode where it was conserving everything and holding on to everything. I was under eating so severely. I was eating 2 hamburger patties like every other day, and then maybe, twice on the weekends. But my body was definitely freaking out because of it. So it was then that I realized that I was going to have to count my calories a little bit while I figured it out. Like, so if you're coming from a standard American diet, or if you're coming from lots of restriction or years of dieting, it makes sense that you need to be able to get a visual of what the appropriate amount of food for somebody your size and your age and your gender looks like. Because when I looked at the plates of what the other women were eating, I thought, well, I can't eat that much. I can't eat that much or I'll gain weight. But meanwhile, I was gaining weight anyway. And I watched all of these things, and it seemed so weird to me. But anytime I did eat more, I did lose like half a pound or a pound, but it would come back 2 days later when I went back to the way that I was eating, or I went back to fasting. So it took me 8 months to realize what I was doing was wrong. And then I had to kind of reverse diet for a little while. I had to up my calories kind of gradually, and then stay at what was considered more of a maintenance mode for me. Ironically, I lost a couple of pounds while I was doing that, while I was working my calories up. And still wasn't enough for me to like click and say, oh, I definitely needed to eat more. But I got up to about 2,000, 2,200 calories a day and stayed there for about 4 months on purpose, so that I could fix my metabolism, because I had really messed up my metabolism by doing that. And then I was able to eat just a little bit less and lose weight and hit my goal. And I've gained probably 6 or 7 pounds back since I hit my goal, but I'm exercising a lot more. I'm doing lots of weights. And so I'm not really worried about it. I'm still wearing the same size I was wearing when I met my goal. So I'm trying not to focus too much on the scale, but I don't count calories on a regular basis. I have kind of learned what being hungry and being full feel like. There are times though where I find myself under eating again, and I find it really easy to eat a big lunch, and then dinner time rolls around and I say, well, I'm not really hungry, so I'm not going to eat. So the eat when hungry until full thing, that is the advice that everybody gives. It doesn't work for everybody, because if I did that, I would be back to eating just one small meal a day. I can't get enough calories in one meal. So I almost always have to eat at least 2 meals. And a lot of times I eat 3. And as long as I'm doing that, I find that I'm eating enough. But if I start just reverting back to my old ways and saying, well, I'm only going to eat 1 meal today, or if I go several days where I do that, I just start to realize that this is my problem. This goes back, 37 years for me, and I have to do something about it. And so then I'll count calories for a week or so, just to remind myself what it should feel like. And then I can kind of eyeball things and do it from there for a while. But I do, we tend to fall back to what we know. As humans, that's what we do. And so it's really easy for me to just all of a sudden I realized that in the last week I only ate 6 meals or something like that. So that can definitely happen to people. And I know it sounds backwards, but it can absolutely happen to people. You can undereat and overeat on carnivore too. But I find that especially women tend to undereat on carnivore.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing and clarifying all that, because I've obviously got a different experience and journey with food, where I'm just eating till I'm full. I just eat and then till I'm full, or depending on what I'm eating, until just before full. But yeah, we all have our own hunger cues, and 37 years of programming, right? Like around your health, like that's a big thing. And I'm so glad you shared this, because I'm sure there's someone watching or listening that might be in that spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got to figure it out. And it's going to be different for all of us. And, I don't count calories, because I just eat till I'm full. And when I first started in the 30 days, when you're eating only meat for a meal, you don't know when you're full, really. You're like, is this full?
Right.
Should I eat more? Should I eat less? That feels like a bit too much meat. Surely I can't eat a whole pound of meat in one sitting, because this and that. And so there's a real process of finding your sweet spot within it, but then you find that sweet spot. And yeah, some people do 1 meal a day, some people do 2 or 3, or but just I reckon find what works for you.
Yeah. Sometimes that takes some playing around and experimenting, and that's what this is, right? We're all kind of experimenting on ourselves here and finding our own control. So you find your control, which for most people ends up being a pretty strict carnivore diet. And then you can kind of add things back in and see how that goes. So using it as an elimination diet is really the best way to use it. And some people add some things back in and some people don't, because for me, I feel so good. I don't really want to mess around with it. I don't really want to do that. I know what happens when I mess around with stuff like that, like with my food. I just, mentally I have to be a little bit careful. And so do I wish I could have a handful of blueberries or take a bite of, my husband or my kid's meal when it's not carnivore? Yeah. I wish that I could, but it's just not worth it for me to see what happens if I do. It's not worth that 1 or 2 bites that may lead me into, you know, 20 cupcakes in 36 hours. And I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's the thing, is that I'm okay with that. It kind of rewires your brain doing this carnivore thing. It really can change who you are. I'm a different person now than I was 2 years ago. I mean, I'm a different person than I was. And I like myself a lot better now. I don't have as many concerns. I don't have as many like panic attacks or anxiety or, feel stressed like I used to. I don't deal with stress like I used to. I mean, honestly, I am a different person than I was, in a good way.
I could keep chatting to you for hours and hours, and I'm
Thanks.
sure we will do that at some stage. But there's one last thing I wanted to find out about, and you're doing this thing called 75 Hard, which I know a lot about, and it's a pretty intense kind of a thing. But I wanted to hear, like, what are you doing at the moment? What is 75 Hard? Why are you doing it? And how are you going? Like, how many days in? Just, yeah, the full picture.
Okay. So I'm one of those people that has a hard time like committing to something and doing it. So I have started all those little challenges. Yeah, I've started all those little challenges over the years. Like, now I have this piece of paper in the basement in our home gym that has like 30 days of crunches, squats, planks, and I don't know, like lunges or something. And you increase the amount every day on all of those, and there's rest days intermittently for all of them, but it's basically a 30-day program. I have started that program and made it to like day 12. I don't even know how many times. Like, I don't even make it halfway through, and then I just skip a day, and then I'll come back and I'll do the next day, and then I'll skip a day, and then before I know it, I put the paper away, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I've done that multiple times, and I have trained for 2 marathons and done 2 marathons over the years. I've run multiple half marathons, I would say 5 or 6 half marathons, and I've done, too many to count, like 5Ks and stuff over the years. So I can do certain things. I paid for those marathons and half marathons in advance, so I had to do them. But I have a hard time like starting something and then completing it. That's just who I am, unfortunately. And I've tried to fix it over the years, thus starting that challenge over and over and over again, thinking I could do it. And I tried 75 Hard almost 2 years ago. It was August of 2021. And I had been carnivore for like 2.5 months. And I had to, so the 75 Hard challenge is 2 45-minute workouts a day. One has to be outside. You have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. Audiobooks don't count. A gallon of water every day. A progress picture every single day. And you have to follow a diet with no cheats for 75 days. And so I have the diet thing down. That's the first thing I've ever committed to and stuck with for this long. I've got the diet thing down. And so I had tried it, and I had to restart. So that's the other thing, is if you mess up, if you miss even one of those things, any one of the days, even if you're on day 70, you have to start over back at day 1. And so I had to restart a few times within like 3 weeks or a month. And then I started again, and then I didn't feel well one day and ended up like in bed for a whole day. And so I just decided it was probably just too much stress for me. My cortisol was up. I had just basically started carnivore, and I was feeling good, but I just kind of decided this wasn't the time for me and just kind of gave up. And then I was just trying to challenge myself. And a few weeks ago, I decided my 50th birthday is May 22nd. And I decided that I would do 75 Hard, and I would start on the day that would lead me up to the day before my birthday. So I will complete 75 Hard on May 21st. And you should have seen me counting up the days multiple times to make sure that I had counted right, because I didn't want to mess up. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to be sure I could get it right. And so if I don't have to start over at all, I will finish the day before my birthday. And I've already made it through several unfortunate circumstances. Like, it was springtime when I decided to do this. And if you know me and you watch any of my stuff on Instagram and YouTube, you know I do not like to be cold ever for any reason ever. I do not like to be cold. And it's cold here in Virginia in the wintertime. So when I decided to do this, we were having spring-like temperatures every day. It was like 75 degrees in the middle of the day with the sun shining. We were having some really good weather. And I was like, this is easy. I can do this. And within like 3 or 4 days of starting, we were back down into the 20s at night, which meant when I would do my outdoor workouts early in the morning, it was like, 30 degrees. We're talking gloves and hats and a winter coat. I would go to the trail to run in a winter coat with fur, and like not fur, but like Sherpa stuff inside, like zipped all the way up to my chin with the hood on. Like, I do not like to be cold ever for any reason ever. And so, so it immediately became a lot more difficult than I expected it to be, because I thought we were going into warm weather. I mean, there have been a couple of times like one time I didn't get to do I didn't get to start my first workout until 8 p.m. And that was the outdoor workout. So I'll just walk back and forth in our driveway. I don't know how long our driveway is, but it takes me 20 seconds maybe to get from one end to the other. And I will just walk back and forth in the driveway at night. I've done it at night in the rain, in freezing rain, a couple of times because I just got off during the day. But that one particular day I started at 8 p.m. and the workouts have to be like a couple hours apart. You can't just do an hour and a half all at once. So I ended up doing the other workout at like 10:30 in the living room. Just, we were watching TV and I just did squats and crunches and I just kept myself moving for the 45 minutes. The water is probably the hardest part, is getting in a full gallon of water. So this is half a gallon and I still have to drink all of that before bed. Last night, I didn't even start my water until like 5 p.m. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know. Yesterday, I had a really bad day. Get to do my first outdoor workout till 3. And then I got interrupted twice and had to stop after 20 minutes both times in the rain. I had to stop after 20 minutes both times. So that meant I had to start that workout over again. So I had to do another 45 minutes outside and then did my second workout at 8 p.m. In our gym. In order to get it all in, it is, like time consuming. So I'm doing the Bible as my nonfiction book most of the days. I'm also reading Dr. Ken Berry's book, Lies My Doctor Told Me. But I don't take the book with me. So when we're out and I have time, I'll do my Bible plan on my phone. So audiobooks don't count, but you can use, an electronic book. So the hardest part has been the water and of course the workouts, because you have to revolve your day around it. You have to look at the weather first thing in the morning and kind of make your decision, which one is going to be the outdoor workout, which one's going to be the indoor workout. So it is very time consuming, but yesterday I didn't think I'd do it. And I really wanted to count those 2 20-minute workouts, those 2 20-minute walks in the rain. I wanted to count those and just do like an extra 5. And I messaged a friend and she was like, you have to start over. She said, somebody who's completed it already. She said, you can't use those. You have to start over. Those are not a 45-minute workout. You can't use the 2 20-minute walks. And I knew she was right. I knew that before I even messaged her. I wanted her to tell me it was okay, but also I know me. And I know that if I had given in yesterday, today would have been the same way. If I don't finish this water, if I leave this much in it tonight, tomorrow I'll leave this much. That's just who I am. And so I have to do it every day. I have to make sure I get it done and I have to do it all right. And so it's been a little bit stressful, but also really good for me. And so I hope to not have to start over. I hope to be sitting here on day 75, the day before my 50th birthday, and say that I did it. And I hope to have my water gone by now that day. I hope to get into a better routine with my water. But yeah, it's, I think it'll be good. I feel like so far it's been a good experience. It's been a little bit stressful. We have a lot going on. Our oldest daughter's getting married and just bought a house. And so we've been over there working every day, floors and painting and stuff like that. And I knew if I didn't make this time for myself now, I wouldn't make time for myself this whole time leading up to, the wedding, and we have a vacation in there somewhere and just all of these things going on. I thought this is a good time to start a really hard challenge like 75 hard. but I knew that if I didn't do it right now, I'm probably never going to do it. I have to be able to fit this in with my life. And I've always exercised. I mean, like I said, I've been a runner for lots and lots of years. I've done, weight programs over and over again, weightlifting and stuff like that. So I know how to do it. I just don't usually make the time. So I went from not really making any time to making room for an hour and a half every day. It turns out I did have time and I just didn't know it, because when I have to make the time because I'm doing a challenge, I can make it. So it's really an interesting challenge. It's a mental challenge. It's not a physical challenge. You can just walk for your workouts. You don't have to do anything serious. But I did buy a weighted vest today because I want those walks to count for a little bit more. I'm doing like one of my workouts every day tends to just be a walk, just one of them. And the other workout tends to be either sprints or weightlifting. And so I want the walk to be a little bit harder. So I bought a 20-pound weighted vest today and use that today for my walk. But that's good because that means I'm challenging myself even more. I'm finding that the walk is a little bit too easy. And normally I wouldn't challenge myself like that. So I'm pretty excited about the outcome of it.
That's so exciting. I love that. It's like, it is such a mental thing and it's meant to be inconvenient, especially with all these things happening in your life.
Yeah.
And who you become as a result of it is this version of yourself that we kind of like speculate on or think, oh, I'd like to be that person, or don't even know that we can be that person. Right. And that's who we become through the process. So that's awesome. It's on my bucket list. It's on my bucket list of challenges to do. So I'll let you know when I do that. Probably not for a bit because I'm doing nervous system stuff at the moment, and then I'll probably move into that down the track. But That's exciting.
Yeah.
And you can watch her progress, go check out her stuff on her Instagram. Where can people find you? I know you're on Instagram and YouTube, but yeah, how do people find you?
So I'm on Instagram as serena.carnivore. Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
it's Serena Musick, but it's the same picture as Instagram, so you can find it easy. And then I also do TikTok, but I put almost all the same things that I put on Instagram there. And then YouTube is Carnivore Revolution with my friend Jess. And like I said, we do all kinds of interviews, and sometimes we do like her top 3 tips and my top 3 tips and things like that. But we have a good time and we enjoy it, and we do cooking and things like that on there as well.
You do a great job. You do such a solid job of education. There's so much that you guys talk about and share that I wouldn't even think of sharing, and it's not like my style of doing things and stuff like that. So it's like, I think it's so good the way that you do things, because it's so accessible to so many people, and your everyday person can learn. Like, you've got recipes. I don't really share that many recipes. It's just like, here's meat. But you have all these, creative things. You give amazing tips. Your interviews, they're great. You are a great interviewer. I've been on a couple with you, and they're awesome. So guys, go check out Serena. What would your message to the world be?
My message to the world would be, if there's something wrong with you, if you're not as healthy as you could be, do something about it. Because there is nothing unique about Rory and I. We are people just like you are people. And if you want to live optimally, if you want to live as long and as healthfully as you can, if you want to be here for your kids and your grandkids, and you want to be healthy and make the most of every day. And, we don't think about that very often, like about making the most of our days and how are we feeling, every day. We just kind of live our lives. We're all so busy. We don't think very often about living optimally and what that would be like. And I can honestly say that I really feel like I'm living my best life now that I've eliminated the foods that were making me sick and not keeping me as healthy as I wanted to be. I'm shooting for like 100 here. I am not ready to go anytime soon. About to turn 50 kind of makes you think about those things, I think, a little bit more than somebody who's younger. And I can honestly say that I'm doing the best I can right now. And I don't ever want to get to the end and think, what if? What if I had only changed my diet? What if I had only exercised so that I would feel good? What if I had gotten enough sleep? What if I had really taken care of myself? I don't ever want to get to a point where I wonder, what if I had done those things? I want to do it now, and I want to live the best way that I can so that I'll feel my best every day. And I think everybody should do that. And if it means missing out on some cupcakes or a piece of cake at a birthday party, then so be it. If it means having your health, then it's totally worth it, because you don't ever get to the end of like a birthday party or any other kind of party, or going to the movies with your friends. You don't ever get home after you have kind of followed your diet and stuck with your plan and stayed healthy and think, man, I wish I'd had that piece of cake, right? Nobody ever does that. You don't ever get home or, go for a walk and think, I wish I hadn't gone for a walk today. So let's do those things now while we have the chance, so that later we're not saying, I wish I had. If we can just do those things now and get ourselves to be optimal, the healthiest we can be for the body that we have and where we are in life, then everybody is going to do better. The world would be a better place if everybody would just live optimally and do all the things that make us healthier, happier individuals.
You know what? You're a legend. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to this episode or watch it if you're on YouTube. It means the world to me. And there's plenty more where this came from as well. So if you'd like to see more content or listen to more podcast content, then you can just hit subscribe on YouTube. If you're on Spotify or iTunes or the other things, 5-star rating goes a very, very long way and would be forever grateful. For any of the resources and links mentioned, you can head over to rorybland.com, and you can check out my exclusive newsletter at rorybland.com/newsletter. Thank you again, and I can't wait for you to check out the next one.